spoken with suspenseful pacing, slightly dramatic tone. Imagine handing your prized possessions to a so-called friend and watching every single one come back broken, ruined, or not at all. That's betrayal enough. But when that same friend mocks you for something deeply personal, that's when anger turns into something darker. This is the story of how a teenage gamer in the 90s pulled off one of the most humiliating and unforgettable revenges I've ever heard. If you've ever wanted to see karma delivered in the most perfect way possible, hit that like button and subscribe. Because today's story is about betrayal, pride, and a revenge that still feels satisfying almost 30 years later. The 1990s were a strange, exciting time to be a teenager, especially if you were into computers and gaming. Forget the instant downloads we take for granted today. Back then, there was no Steam, no internet forums, no easy access to new games. If you wanted the latest titles, you had to really work for them. I was one of only a handful of kids in my town who even had a computer, and those games weren't cheap. My best friend and I had a system. We'd save up, order games from abroad by airmail, and then trade them with each other. Sometimes we'd even copy the copy protection if it was included, just to make it slightly more affordable. It was our little lifeline to the gaming world. And it worked until he came along. The antagonist enters. A new kid joined our class. At first, he seemed like a dream come true. His uncle apparently had stacks upon stacks of games, more than we'd ever seen in our lives. He promised us access to things we'd only read about in magazines. So naturally, we trusted him. We offered to trade. We gave him original copies of our most treasured games, The Settlers, Doom 2, Monkey Island, games that defined an era. And in return, we got garbage, corrupted floppy disks, missing copy protection, sometimes nothing at all. For months, we held out hope, but not a single game he gave us worked. Meanwhile, he had our entire collection sitting in his bedroom, and some of them he returned scratched, broken, in worse condition than when we gave them. It wasn't just theft, it was disrespect. And if you've ever been a teenager pouring your allowance into something you love, you'll understand. This felt personal. Betrayal and mockery. As if that wasn't enough, the kid had a cruel streak. He discovered I was a massive fan of Queen, especially Freddie Mercury, who had tragically passed away from AIDS in 1991. Freddie was a hero to me, his voice unmatched, his music legendary. But to this new friend, Freddie was just a target. He'd sneer, roll his eyes, and mock me for idolizing a gay singer. Coming from a deeply conservative, religious family, he saw homosexuality as something to ridicule, and he didn't hesitate to humiliate me over it in front of others. So now it wasn't just about the stolen games. It was about respect, about dignity, about justice. The breaking point. The final straw came when our class attended an AIDS awareness event. It was part of the wave of campaigns happening at the time. The event was serious, emotional, about education, prevention, and compassion. At the end, we were given informational flyers and, yes, even free condoms branded with the foundation's logo. And that's when the idea struck. My best friend and I, two of the only kids with a computer and an inkjet printer at home, looked at each other. Without saying much, we both knew. This was how we'd get him back. The plan. Fake letter from the AIDS Foundation. We crafted a letter. An official-looking letter, with the logo of the AIDS Foundation printed at the top. Every detail mattered. The formatting, the language, even the fake thank you message inside. It read something like this. Dear first name, thank you for your letter. We understand it's difficult being open about being homosexual, and you have many questions after the event you attended with your class. Please find enclosed a flyer that should answer many of your questions, as well as some condoms. Please practice safe sex at all times. We folded the flyers inside. We slipped in the condoms we'd taken, and then we addressed it, not to him directly, but to Mr. Last Name. His father. We knew exactly who would open it first. Execution, the perfect delivery. We dropped it in the mail and waited. Days felt like weeks. Every time we saw him at school, we wondered, had it arrived? Had the bomb gone off? And then it happened. He didn't show up to class with his usual smirk. Instead, his face was pale, his body tense. Rumors started swirling. His mother had been crying, screaming even. His father was furious. He was grounded, punished, locked down at home. His parents were convinced he was gay. For a boy raised in a strict, conservative Catholic family, this wasn't just embarrassing, it was devastating. The fallout. At first, he thought the letter was authentic. That somehow, the AIDS Foundation had written back to him. That someone had outed him. He walked around school like a ghost, trying to piece together what had happened. And meanwhile, my friend and I, subtly, carefully, fished for details. A passing question here, a casual comment there. Every reaction from him confirmed our revenge had landed. Eventually, though, he figured it out. Maybe it was our poorly disguised curiosity, or maybe just instinct. But he confronted us. We admitted it. We told him the whole thing was fake. And that's how we ended up in the principal's office, sitting across from him, his furious parents on either side, trying to explain ourselves. But by then, it didn't matter. The damage was already done. He had been humiliated in his own home. His smug confidence shattered. For months, he had stolen from us, mocked us, disrespected what we loved. And in a single envelope, all of that came crashing back onto him. He thought he was untouchable. But that letter made him vulnerable in the one place he couldn't defend himself, inside his own family. To this day, I can still remember the satisfaction, the relief, the quiet triumph. We didn't just get our revenge. We got justice. Looking back, maybe it was cruel. Maybe it was too far. But when you're a teenager, powerless and angry, you take justice where you can find it. And 30 years later, I can honestly say, it's still the best revenge I've ever had. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And of course, subscribe for more stories just like this. Because sometimes, karma needs a little help.